Hey, Dr. Bob here at Proactive Wellness and Injury Center. As we move on in our video series, I want to thank you for the obvious interest that we have regarding this particular subject. And thank you for the questions that have been asked already. And I encourage you to keep them coming, one of which I wanted to go ahead and address now. And thank you for this question. Say, Dr. Bob, you in the last video, you said that there was good news and bad news. You talked about the bad news, but never said anything about the good news. Well, I apologize. The good news is this, we've got germs, we've got bacteria, we've got viruses, we've got parasites, we've got all kinds of stuff that we're inundated with on a daily basis from the day we were born up until now. And you know what? We're still here. That's really, really, really good news. And as the body performed yesterday, it's going to be able to do so today, and it's going to do so tomorrow, and for all the tomorrows that are headed your way. And you know what? You and I, we're going to get through this together, okay? So that's what it's about, because the body does all of the healing. Look, I do have to make this disclaimer. I'm not professing a cure here, but I am saying that the body is the one, through all of those events that I just mentioned, it's the one that does all of the curing. You are literally the cure. Your body possesses that. So what we want to do is I want to make available to you the proper steps that you can take so that you can ensure that your body's going to perform at its highest level and that you can enjoy the best performance of your life during that time. Okay? So now to do that, I want you to just bear with me for a few moments. I want you to imagine something. You got an automobile, right? And you're driving back and forth every day, every day, every day. But there comes a point in time where you're going to be going on a trip. And this trip, you know that there's going to be rough roads ahead. It's unknown to you. You've never been there before. You're unfamiliar with it, but you want to make sure that when you start this trip, you're going to end up at your destination, right? So, and you want to do so safely. So I want you to have that picture in your mind so that I can go ahead and explain something to you, and we can communicate. I want you now to think about your body. From the day that you and I were born, we started on a trip. And we have been traveling ever since that time. And we have been, going back and forth. As I said a few moments ago, you've been challenged with germs and bacteria and other viruses and all kinds of challenges that you faced. And your body, for the most part, has been performing pretty well. So now what's happening is that we're going to be entering into unfamiliar territory, if you will. In this day and age in which we're living, we supposedly haven't been exposed to this particular virus ever before, and it's mutating. It's creating different forms and whatnot, expressions of itself. So it's unfamiliar territory. We know that there's going to be some rough roads ahead. And what we want to do is to ensure that we get to our destination. We want to go as long as we want to go, and we want to do so in the best possible shape, right? Okay, so we've got to prepare ourselves. Just like back to that automobile, before you go on that long trip, you check the oil pressure or the oil level. You check the tire pressure. You make sure you have washer fluids in there. You go around making sure that that vehicle is ready for the trip ahead, right? Well, what we want to do now is do the same thing with our body. We want to make sure that our body is equipped for the trip, if you will, that's ahead of us. One of the most important things, and remember now, health is not a result of one entity all by itself. It's a compilation of a lot of different things that we're going to talk about as we go through this. But we're going to focus today on one of the most powerful prohormones or nutritional adjuncts that we put into our body. It's known as vitamin D. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And the fact is, if you're going to do it, then let's do it right. Okay? I'm sure you would agree with that. So getting back to the vitamin D, when you take the vitamin D, you want to make certain that when you get your vitamin D, it's a vitamin D3 because there's different levels of vitamin D. In order for it to be functional, you have to make sure that the particular formulation of vitamin D that you have is highly absorbable. Because it's not going to benefit you if you're taking this vitamin D and it's not being taken up by your body, if it's not being utilized. So you want to make sure it's absorbable. One of the ways to ensure that it is to make sure that it's harnessed with, coupled with vitamin K1 and vitamin K2. And you want to have them in a 4-to-1 ratio. There's nothing ambiguous about this. It's got to be specific. If you would, it's like a recipe. You don't just, when you're making a recipe, you don't just arbitrarily pick up 6 eggs and put it in there or whatever. No, you have to have a certain amount of eggs, a certain amount of flour, whatever the ingredient may be. It's specific. And so it is with nutrition. It's got to be specific in order for it to be utilized by your body. So getting back, it's got to be a vitamin D3. You want to have it coupled with a vitamin K1 and K2. That's going to ensure that the vitamin 3 that you've ingested is going to be absorbed into your body. It's going to be utilized by the body. And that ratio's got to be a 4-to-1 ratio, okay, of the Ks. Now also, getting back to the automobile, before you go on the trip, you check the oil level, right? You put the dipstick in there, making sure you have enough oil in there so that the engine doesn't burn up. Well, with the vitamin D, you want to do the same thing of sorts. If you want to have your vitamin D level tested. Now, there's different vitamin Ds in the blood. There's the 1 and 25 dihydroxy vitamin D. What we want to do is to test the 25 hydroxy vitamin D, because that's the one that's going to impact your body's immune system primarily. Now, there are a lot of sources that tell you all you need is about 20 to 30 nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D when you have your blood tested. That's not efficient. That's not effective. That's like saying all you need is 1 or 2 quarts of oil in the car and your engine you'll make it. Well, that's not going to work. So with the body, for my people, for you, because this is for you, I strongly suggest that you have your vitamin D level tested and make sure it's around 70 to 80 nanograms per milliliter when you do that. Now, look, you can get your blood, you can order online. I mean, there's a lot of, you can go to your primary physician if you want to go through insurance. You can come to us if you want to have a kit. But the point is, you can get kits pretty easily that you can test your vitamin D level and find out what it is at this time, because that's what is very, very important. It's not enough just to have vitamin D in your system. You have to have a certain amount, because these are some rough roads that you're going to be traveling over. This is going to be some challenging time with this COVID stuff. So you want to make sure that you have adequate amounts. Again, 70 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. And also, I want to remind you that when you take the vitamin D, even though you take it, you ingest it, it's not available immediately. We know that it's going to take about 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days. So basically a whole week from the time you start to take it until it's going to be ready, it's going to be available for your use in the body. So it's going to be intracellular by then. And then after it gets into the cell, there's going to be a passage of time that's going to be needed for your cells to go ahead and to use the vitamin D that they now have available in affecting your immune system. Okay? That's what we want to do. We want to proceed forward intelligently. We want to work on the facts. Okay? So again, the vitamin D, got to have vitamin D3. It's got to be coupled with K1 and K2. The K1 and K2 has got to be in a 4-to-1 ratio. You've got to take it for at least 7 days before it gets into the cells. And after it gets into the cells, it's got to be, there's going to take some time before the body can utilize it. So as the Bible says, today is the day and now is the acceptable time. Right. Today is the day and now is the time. You don't want to wait. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be proactive. And again, you want to assess the amount of vitamin D that you currently have that's currently available for your body's usage. Okay, so to do that, you go ahead and get your vitamin D test kits. You can get them anywhere. If you have any problems, you let us know. We can help you out with that as well. Find out what it is. You want a 70 to 80. 70 to 80 is the number you want to see. 80 is really humming along. That's where I like it, at 80, in that area. Okay. Then when you do that, you've got a solid foundation from which your body can go forth. Got it. And also, in addition to this little caveat, you want to make sure that you're adequately hydrating. You have to have enough water. And during the winter months, we don't have a tendency not to drink as much water as we would when it's warmer outside. So this is important. Take your body weight, divide it by 2. That number that you come up with is the amount of ounces that you want to start at in hydrating every day. If you weigh 100 pounds, you divide it by 2, you come up with 50. That's how many ounces of water you want to drink on a daily basis to ensure also that that vitamin D that you're going to start to take can get into your cells, okay? Again, thank you for the questions. If you have any more, you make sure you let us know what they are. And as I said earlier, line upon line, precept upon precept, a little here, a little there. We're going to build on these videos each and every day, or whenever I can get them out to you, so that you can start acting upon what you know to do, so that you can get that body into the place where you're going to be able to enjoy the best performance of your life. Thanks again so much for allowing me to share it with you. And until the next video, and as always, God bless.